but here we go. Oh, is that clean? It's dusty in there. Wow, how's it dusty inside there? The question is, do I look at you or do I look at the screen? Because if I look at the screen I can see me, but if I look at you, I'm looking at you. Oh dear. G'day, my name is Josh and welcome to the channel. I figured I would just start by doing a bit of a walk around of both Myrtle and the single cab ute, and that way you can get an idea of what sort of work we're going to get into. And yeah, anyway, without further ado, let's do a bit of a walk around, eh? So I'll keep myself in frame for a minute. So this is Myrtle. She's a 1974 camper converted, so I dare say when she rolled off the assembly line she would have been flat top roof, and at some point, I think is it the Campmobile company, or there was a company that did the pop top conversions on the Volkswagens back in the 70s. And if any of you can put in the comments which companies did this sort of work, that'd be cool, just for reference. But anyway, Myrtle is a 1974. She's got the high indicators. Let's flip this around, eh? So you can get a better view. So she's got the high indicators, and at some point, probably, oh look, I'm just having a guess at it, maybe 16 years ago, the front got replaced. And a lot of work's been done on there a couple of times, and so she doesn't have the original sort of bulge that goes behind the bumper. So that's Myrtle. Originally when we got her, she was white and had like this blue stripe detail, which I'll put some photos up. But she's definitely up for a respray about now. So part of me thinks that will be back in the scheme of things when we respray, but we'll get to that. Anyway, this is the current condition. We've got some plywood door cards, which I cut and put on there actually not that long ago. But all the seals need replacing. So already we're getting a little bit of water damage, but I'm not overly worried at this stage. I know inside the doors it's all clean and treated, so yeah. So we've got an aftermarket radio, and years ago when I was a bit younger, this was like the first thing I ever made. It's like a little glove box compartment, and she's got like little pencil tins. So that's how we put our drinks, and so that's been handy. And obviously it's seen better days, but you know, I made this with nails and a jigsaw, and it's lasted 16 years and it's been great. So yeah, stood the test of time. But otherwise, inside needs a bit of love. I can do put up the pop top soon, but there are holes in the pop top. You can see the holes in the headlining. The floor's in pretty good nick. I've just put this rug down just to lighten the boot a bit. She did have just some black carpet underneath, and then there's like a rubber matting underlay under that. Just figured that would help with the, you know, bit of noise and keeping it cooler in there. But we've got the baby seat in the back for my niece and nephew. They went on their first Kombi ride a few weeks ago, so that was fun. But this is a pull forward rock and roll bed. So yeah, she did have speakers, hence the new aftermarket stereo, but ever since I had to remake this bed frame and move some things around because it wasn't operating properly, and so I actually disconnected the speakers when I did that. And so somewhere down the track I'll put the speakers back in. Over here we've had a bit of more recent activity. Carpet caught on fire, so that was fun. I was doing some repairs underneath, and I'm still yet to finish it from this side. As you can see, you know, it's a bit rough. You know, there's still some holes over here, so that corner needs a bit of work. But underneath, where it's more important, is fixed, so I'm not overly concerned at the moment. The main thing is just keeping her on the road. So as we come around, you know, you can see the paint work needs a bit of work. And you know, behind here you can see, you know, there's little rust holes, which, you know, there's a few more. There's a bit of rust behind this section here. Now I had to do a bit of a dodgy job. There's a couple of rust holes you can see here. I don't know if you can see in that light, but I've had to fill a rust hole with bog. There you go, you can probably see it there. And I've just painted over these holes with a bit of house paint. This was just to stop the water getting in. I did treat the rust in there, but I didn't have time to do the actual repair. So for the very short term, I just filled it, knowing that I'd go back and fix it properly. So that's that. You know, a bit of rust on the tailgate. Yeah, she's been in the family about 16 years. I moved up to the Northern Rivers a few years ago, and so she kind of sat under a cover a lot of the time between when I left and when I moved up here. Yeah, so that's pretty much Myrtle. We'll do just one little lap of her, just so you can get an idea of what sort of condition she's in. The wheels that are actually on her are actually from the ute, which we're going to get to in a minute, to get her through Rego. The ute tyres had a lot more tread on them, so I threw them on for Rego and left them on for now because she's registered, whereas the ute isn't on the road yet. So that's that. And yeah, so she's had this aftermarket aerial put on. Some of the repairs along the side include, let's get up there and have a look, eh? So this actually needs top coating, but we've replaced this whole inner sill because the old one was absolutely rusted out majorly, and re-welded in these jacking points, and yeah, just done some general repairs all along here. This took me sort of the Christmas holidays to do, but we also got like a new outrigger put in. I've got a couple of welded plates around these sections because these sections were rusted out. You can see here, and I can't zoom any further back, but this pipe here is given way. It should be obviously connected to this point over here and be nice and straight and go through there, but you know, it's not the end of the world, it's not structural, so that's one of the things on the list of things to do. But yeah, she's leaking a little bit of oil, as you can see there, but it's not too bad. Very, very slow leaks. She could do with a bit of a degrease. She'd love a big cleanup and whole chassis paint, but we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. So yeah, a few repairs to do. And if we go over to the ute, this is a 1972 single cab, which I picked up mid last year. It's almost been a year now that I've had it. And I didn't get into doing any repairs straight away, but all I kind of did was pull the gates off, as you can tell, because it has the fold down gates. Pulled the seat out, which is just chilling over there. And more recently I've started work on the floor, which you've seen. If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen a couple of reels on that, but essentially the driver's side footwell was rusted through. Like this whole first half was pretty shot. You could almost put your foot through it. And then the other side was sort of getting sort of in a similar condition, in a similar way. So yeah, this is fully set now. I've put a bit of KBS chassis paint on there. It's been treated, KBS'd, as have the repair panels, which I've done up. I had to do a bit of modification to these, where I actually have a combination of new steel and original steel. So I pulled each section out as a whole piece and salvaged particularly the sections around where your steering column and pedals go through, because I wanted to keep the original holes and stampings. And then I've just had to re-weld this back on in its correct position. But they're more or less ready to go in now. So if I sit that there, it basically falls into position. And then the other one's in the same boat. But we've just got to weld in this little piece first, which I made up out of a couple of offcuts. So that'll go in that little quarter there, and then we've got the main section over there. So all in all though, the condition of this is fantastic. Like, it's very original, very untouched, besides what I'm doing now, obviously. Like, all this is original paint in here. All the wiring is pretty much, you know, it's all original wiring. So there's no like additional aftermarket random wires that you get confused about where they're going, which is pretty much the story for Myrtle. Is she'd love a full rewire, but you know, eventually. Anywho, let's do a little bit of a tour. So we've got this section here, which at some point the utes had a bit of a respray, but it wasn't a very detailed one, so the bumpers were left on. So if we come around here, you can see they've just done a respray with the bumpers on. They had the gates on. They pretty much would have just taped up around the seals. They didn't paint inside of here, but I think at some point something's bumped into this panel, and so you can see, if I stand back here, it bellies in a little bit towards that seam, and from the inside of the treasure chest on the other side, you can see they've done like a bit of a repair panel. So it's not going to take too much work. I'll be able to just pop that out and weld it from the inside and probably do a touch up. But now I've got the gates off, we can go and sort of treat all this surface rust that was behind all the hinges, and yeah, let's do what we need to do. Around the back here, the engine bay seal channel needs some work. So this is where the engine lid is supposed to mount, but it's rusted through. So I'm going to have to replace this section through here, whether I just do a section or replace the whole piece if I can. That'd be ideal. But otherwise, this is all being cleaned out and gurneyed, and what looks like rust isn't actually. It's just where the paint's missing. So it's actually in fantastic condition in here. Even the battery tray is solid as a rock in there. But yeah, it's pretty good. So before I put the engine back in here, I'm going to do a bit of a respray in here, and yeah, part of me is considering doing a rear apron, removable rear apron, so it makes getting the engine in and out a bit easier. From all reports online, everyone says doing that's one of the best moves they've ever done. I guess it's just whether I want to do it now or down the track. I feel like just to get on the road I might leave it and deal with it later. But you can see there's a bit of a crossover here because it's got the tall tail lights instead of the smaller ones. Like I think maybe up to about 70, 71 they had the small tail lights, but this is a 72. And so it's got the taller tail lights, same as Myrtle. So as we come around, I've got the treasure chest around here, which I've just got boxes of parts in that I've ordered, but essentially that's all cleaned out. It's all super solid in here. This is just surface rust, you can see. So that wouldn't take much to wire brush and paint. Now, in saying all that, I would love to get in there and paint the whole internal. You can see in here, I've got some tank sealer there. I was gonna sort out the fuel tank. But even in here, like, I would love to get up in there and paint it all. And so when you look at the tray, there actually is a lot of surface pitting in the tray in areas. Some areas worse than others. Some you could get away with just probably wire wheeling it back, welding up the main holes, doing a bit of filler, coating it, and that would last a while. I have got a whole new tray sitting over there. So the plan originally was to get this, pull the tray off, paint all the internals, put the new tray on, and then get it on the road. But it's like, I don't need to do that to get it on the road. So I'm thinking, even short term, if I can just get in and treat all this, just paint what I can in there, wire wheel back this, weld up the areas that are really bad, and give it a coat of the KBS and a top coat of something, and put some timber slats on there. That's going to last a few years until I really want to pull it off the road and do it. You know, I've got the tray there, it's not an issue. But at least if I get this on the road, because I'd love to have this as my daily, I can then pull Myrtle off the road and get her resprayed. Do the internal fit out, get her all sweet for camping, and then once she's done, I'll come back to the ute, take the ute back off the road, or put it on historic rego or something like that. Yeah, get this tray replaced, get the internals done. So yeah, I think we're not that far off just getting the ute on the road. I think once I repair this floor, and the main things like getting the engine lid mounts back on, that's pretty much it, honestly. Like, the gates need some work. The gates are in great nick, but along the bottom edges of the gates, which are under the house, I'll show you another time. That's pretty much all she needs to get going. So the windscreen, actually, I take my words back, probably need to get in behind this windscreen, because there is a bit of rust bubbling along here, which is a dead giveaway. You know, it's pretty consistent all the way along. So we're going to pull the windscreen out, fix what we have to in there. I'm not going to do a full respray straight away. I might just, you know, spray where I need to, even if I just do like a bit of a feathered spray. Yeah, I don't know. What's everyone's opinions on that? I don't want to do a full respray and go down that path just yet. But I will definitely repair. There's a little bit of rust along the front here. Not too much. It's pretty good underneath. It's really solid. It's just this little area and a couple little areas like this, which honestly don't even look that deep. That looks like just surface stuff. If you zoom in on that. So most of it is cosmetic. Underneath, all the seals, all the typical areas around the B-pillar and the dog legs are solid as a rock. So it's really just surface rust and cosmetic paint and getting that tray done. So I don't know. Right now we're juggling a bit of both. The plan is just to get this floorboarded up, get her registered so she is moving and she can be driven, and then we'll go from there. We've got, as I said, the driver's seat for the ute, and we've actually got a twin seat. It's not a Volkswagen seat, but I did have plans on using that in the back of Myrtle because, you know, I had plans for a while to potentially make the bed a more permanent fixture, put some cabinets in, and then if you want extra seating, I can just bolt that seat in here in the original seat mounts. But not being a actual original Volkswagen seat, it does require a little bit of modification, which I'm not concerned about, but it's, you know, it's just another thing on the list of things to do. But that could be a cool little exercise and video series. So I'll pop this roof up now and I'll show you what the canvas looks like. Let's get this roof popped up. So, as you can see, straight away, a bit of a tear. Fly screen's getting on a bit. There's some holes in the fly screen, and yeah, the hardware's in pretty good nick. Like, it pops up really great. The roof's pretty solid. Just needs a bit of a clean and a new canvas, I'd say. So I'll show you from the inside. So here we are. I'm standing up. I can stand up pretty comfortably in here, which is pretty cool. I have temporarily, a couple of years ago, put a couple of timber strips along here because there were more holes and the canvas was lifting away from the actual body of the pop top unit. So I put these timber strips in to sort of secure the the canvas. But, you know, just being the old brittle canvas that it is, it's torn here and torn at the front, and you know, ideally you probably could go away in it for sure, but you're just prone to, if you're somewhere near a creek or a river, or you're just going to cop the mozzies here, and yeah, you're going to wake up scratching your legs majorly. So it's a bit of work. A few years ago we lifted the pop top up off the body. We didn't take it right off. I think it was not long after I got my welder for the first time and was really having a go myself on welding. We knew there was rust along the underside of the pop top all the way along both sides, and I'll try and find that footage and photos, and I'll put a little slideshow in here as I'm talking. But we got most of the holes cut out. You can't cut out a hole, but you know what I mean. We got the rusty parts cut out, got it all treated, got it painted, welded, just put some new steel over the top of it. Didn't do a real pretty job of it, but it was all solid and painted, and then we put the pop top back on and new screws, and so it was just a bit of peace of mind going forward, because we kind of figured if you're going to do repairs, you kind of want to work top down, yeah? Because if you repair the bottom but don't fix where the water's coming from, you're kind of fighting against the rust. So that's the thinking. Do need to, especially with Myrtle, especially in the rain, she likes to leak some water under the windscreen, because as you're driving the floor seems to get a bit wet. So like the Ute, Myrtle's windscreen's probably going to have to come out, and the dash, I reckon, and it's going to need some work under there, whether that be some rust repairs or just a new seal, or I don't know, we'll find out. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of things so far. So oh, one of the neighbours is home. But yeah, stay tuned. I have so many ideas. That's going to be it for this video. So hit me up in the comments if you have any, if you have a VW Kombi, or you're working on a repair, or yeah, it'd just be great to have some people to chat to about the restos. Anyway, have a great weekend. It is Saturday the 24th of May here, and the sun is out. It has been pretty yucky the last few weeks, so I haven't been able to do much outside. So love days like this in the Northern Rivers. It just reminds me of why I love living here. Especially just went down into Ballina this morning for a run, and you know, it's beautiful. Took Myrtle for a drive down, and she loves it, windows down, and radio's not hooked up. I just love listening to the sound of a motor cruise along. But yeah, anyway, that's enough from me. I'll chat to you soon. Thanks for watching. See ya.